What's up, everybody, and welcome to Naples, Florida. Alright guys, so the first thing I want you guys to know before we go and see all this destruction is that the vast majority of Naples is okay. It's when you cross US 41 that you enter the area that had the destruction. Anybody can be a YouTuber right now. There's channels that have 50 subscribers with videos that got 20,000 views because the destruction's there for you to record. All you gotta do is point your camera at it. But it takes more than that to be a journalist, people. The water literally went into these buildings along the coast. Alright guys, I've worked in these apartments more than once over the years, so I know people that live in here. I know somebody that lives in here that owes me $40. He never paid me. Piece of crap guy from Connecticut who ripped me off on the last job I did in Naples. So these buildings here, this is complete destruction. This is the storm surge came through here on an unimaginable level. You can see boats flipped over, boats still on the concrete. The amount of cars that were flooded in this parking lot was insane.
It broke the boat lifts.
Yeah.
Like
This
multiple.
here, these apartments here suffered. You can still see there's just cars spread through this whole area. The storm surge that came through this parking lot. All these cars here obviously flooded. The boat docks here are just a tangled mess of destroyed boats. The storm surge not only flooded these cars, but it also tossed them all around. These boats here made it far from land. The stench coming from this garbage pile is horrendous now that it's been a few weeks. There are cars that are flooded, boats on land, wind damage. You can see that this building here pretty much had damage all the way through it. This is what it looks like in Naples along the beach. And I'm gonna have to put interest on those $40 at this point. It's not the $40, Katie. It's the principle that if you make a deal with a man, you pay him for his work. Can you imagine living in a place like this along the beach and ripping off somebody for $40? This type of lifestyle and still be a scumbag. What I want you guys to know on this video is that while the vast majority of people are great, some of these rich people that live around here are kind of a bunch of scumbags. I'm not saying every last one of them. What I'm saying is you don't have to feel bad for every last person in here. So this is the entrance to State Park boundaries. On that side over there is the Wiggins Pass Park. The beach is right there, just behind these trees. A wall of water would have come from that direction and inundated this whole area. And what you're looking at here is the entrance to the beach. In fact, you can just see the clearing there from the beach. But what's interesting is that you can see there's holes between the trees that weren't there before. You usually couldn't see anything here, but the wall took away so many of the trees that were there that you can actually now see to the beach. So you can imagine that the shape of the landscape here has changed. So the entrance to this beach park, which is a beloved site. I mean, I spent a lot of my childhood in this park. Whatever happened on that side, the entrance to Wiggins Pass Beach Park, is it's altered forever. It's not going to be the same. And the amount of flooded vehicles that are still coming out of this area. Keep in mind that these vehicles didn't just flood. A lot of them also were just kind of pushed around. So you're dealing with not just flooding, you're dealing with vehicles that were kind of tossed around and kind of damaged. As you can see here, they've had to put a kind of like a wheel underneath the wheel. You don't have to feel too bad for these people here. Feel bad for the people in a mobile home in North Fort Myers. Feel bad for the person who had their roof ripped off and they're living paycheck to paycheck. Feel bad for those people. These people here have insurance on everything. These people here, like 80% of these properties we're about to look at are second homes. That means this isn't even the main crib. This is the other crib. I'm gonna assume that car was either left there to keep it from washing away, or it washed away and landed there. Either way, it's just a vehicle sitting there at this point, likely damaged. But as we enter this area, I don't want you guys to feel too bad for what you're about to see. Keep in mind that 80% of these homes are second homes. These aren't these people's main residences. They're not here suffering without power and light. They're up in Minnesota or New York having a great time of their life. They're not here on the ground. Feel bad for the people who have to come here and clean it up. The vast majority of us don't even have a primary home, let alone a secondary home. So don't feel bad for them, okay? Feel bad for them, but don't feel too bad for them either. So can you imagine this wall of destruction, guys? Just coming onto all these properties here. Complete wall of destruction. Guys, we're talking a complete wall of destruction that pushed its way through this part of Naples. And it is powerful. But let's be aware that the real humanitarian disaster isn't what happened here. The real humanitarian disaster is the people whose primary residence are gone. None of these people are homeless. These people here, these are the second homes. Some of them third or fourth homes. So again, this is just, you're talking cars floating around. You're talking whatever took place here was disastrous. And actually, I know people that are my family that went through this, that they were in an area where the storm surge came through and had their cars washed away. So I'm not saying that you can't feel sympathy for people, but you have to understand that this is not the humanitarian disaster. This is a monetary disaster. Humanitarian disaster is the people that are still here homeless. And there's a lot of those people. Those are the people you got to feel bad for. The smell is bad. And you can imagine that these cars would have been washed around, tossed around. You know, this was absolutely a chaotic scene. And unfortunately, just a lot of loss of property here. Beautiful truck. If this was my truck and it was like this, I would be heartbroken. But look, guys, on the other side is the Gulf of Mexico. And it actually looks calm and beautiful on the other side of this. Now, I've seen hurricane destruction in Southwest Florida, but I have never seen anything like this. Now, I've lived in this area here. I lived about 4 to 6 miles away from here for over 20 years of my life. So this is a place I'm very familiar with. And over the years, I've worked in all of these buildings that we're looking at here. Some of the people that I've worked for here have been amazing people. Just people you're happy to work for. But some of them have been complete on the other spectrum of that situation. You understand? I've worked for people here who were very affluent and they had a hard time giving you a $20 tip. And there's nothing wrong with that. I moved into a very nice apartment recently, and hey, I like good things. I like new cars. I love all these cars. I love BMWs and Mercedes-Benzes. But I also love to pay a hardworking person a good tip even more because they deserve it, you know? So these are places that we're looking at now that I'm very familiar with. So back to my idea that this is an area I'm very familiar with, and these people will rebuild undoubtedly. As you can see, they've already started the process of kind of tearing out the lower level, and I don't know if any of these buildings are gonna have structural damage, but I do want you to know that the newer buildings that are back there had considerably much less damage than these older buildings. They were built in a time where building codes weren't as strict and regulations as well. I love Naples, and this stretch of road here that we're on right now, when I would be stressed out from work, lost somebody that I love, any of the stressful things we go through in life, when I went through any of those things, I would drive through here. And I have many videos on my channel, me just driving through here. And this is, in fact, a very special place for me, like it is for a lot of people. This is a place where when I lost somebody that I love, this is my strip. This is my Panama City Beach strip. And while this type of destruction hadn't happened yet in Naples, it was very, you know, the evacuations that every single year we go through and we ignore as insignificant or as a waste of our time. But see, that's the thing. It's not your job that's not your job There's people whose job is to know, to predict these disasters. And I just want to congratulate them on the evacuation zones and the work they did with the evacuations that undoubtedly saved, in the case of this event, thousands of lives. Because when a time existed that there wasn't the technology to be able to foresee these possibilities, we didn't know these things would happen. It would catch everybody by surprise. And again, I have family members that live within this vicinity. So I'm talking about people that I know personally. I lived within this vicinity personally. Now, we're looking at sand here. Keep in mind with the sand that this was on the beach and now it's, here because all this was covered in sand. This is difficult to watch. But I know that in this place, the type of money that exists here, that this will not be a permanent thing. This is going to be a temporary problem because the people here can frankly afford to rebuild. Look, you can see right through the windows on that building. In other words, the water just washed right to the lower floor. All right, so I'll do the job for the guy. And I've told you guys the story on my channel. It's this building here. The gates are open now, but they're usually closed. So I park inside the gate and I do the job for this guy. He leaves in his car. Now, after he leaves, I can't get back in because I'm gated inside. After I did the job, the guy just left, didn't answer the phone anymore. After I was already downstairs, now there's another code to get up to the building. So once I was in there, he didn't pay me. The guy just literally just got up and left and didn't pay me for the job. And, he figured, well, it's a gated building. You can't get in. So, can you imagine living in a $3 to $4 million unit and a guy that's getting paid $120 to haul away a couch or something? You don't pay him. You just kind of run off on the guy. That to me would just blow my mind because even as a poor person, I wouldn't do that to somebody. But it's just interesting how here, even though it's a very wealthy and affluent area, over the years as I've worked for people, you see some embarrassing behavior from people. So there's Katie doing her drive around. I told her just find your own path and I'll find mine and we'll meet up later. But there's Katie doing a drive around video. Here you're looking at solid chunks of concrete. You're not looking at, wood or something. This is pure chunks of concrete. And despite being just an affluent area, you'll still run into people that are just complete scumbags that'll rip you off for $20. I know this guy who, now he got ripped off by this rich guy. This guy, I don't know the guy personally, but I've heard the stories about what he did to my friend, where in business, he kind of did, and my friend lost a lot. I'm not talking losing a day's work. I'm talking about losing a month's work. You know what I mean? And my friend calls me. He's like, Jose, remember that guy that did this and that to me and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yeah, I remember him. You told me that he, stole so much money from me. He didn't pay you for the job. I'm talking a month's worth of work. Sends me a picture of the guy's car in his house. And my friend was happy about it. He was like, it's about time that these rich scumbags get a taste of what regular people go through. That's not my words, by the way. So I'm not telling you, these are not my words, okay, guys? So don't put these words on me. I'm just telling you a conversation that I had with a friend who said, hey, you know what? Jose? I'm actually okay with the situation. Because the misery and hardship that regular people go through, my friend feels that these people here need to get a taste of it. Now, I don't agree with that. My personal sentiment isn't that way. My personal sentiment is I care about everybody. But I share this story with you so you understand just that there's different ways of looking at disaster. Bro, slow down, bro. Wow, bro. Dude, what's the rush, man? You can't go that fast. It's 25 when there isn't garbage on the side of the road. Come on, bro. But they get paid by the yards. They don't care. I'm wearing brand new shoes, too. But I just share this so you guys know that there's two sides to catastrophes. One, there's the people that take the loss. And two, there's the people that actually make a huge profit on it. You can actually see water. Looks like they just turned water back on. And you can hear water splashing out of that building. You can hear water splashing out of this building. So it seems like they just turned water back on, but I think it's just created a little bit of a problem here. The truth about hurricanes is that there's two sides to them. There's one side is the incredible loss that some people are going to take, but hurricanes also rearrange a lot of things. Some people are brought from a normal, stable life to complete instability and homelessness. You can see here they turn the water back on. There's water gushing out of that building. There's also a bad smell here. There's flies all over my face and all over my body. It's actually quite a nasty vibe. And out of that building, you can also hear water gushing there, and there's people grabbing brooms. So it looks like they're making an effort to turn the water back on and see what it does. Flies are all over everything and go from being stable to being homeless. Some people will go from being homeless to being millionaires. Some people will go from struggling to making a killing because, this actually provides a lot of opportunity. Hurricanes rearrange the economy of things. I want to show you guys this house right here. Now, here's all this destruction, but here's a modern house built to modern building codes. And while there's destruction all around us, these buildings are all old, to be honest. They're outdated, to be honest. A lot of these buildings, just to be honest, need to be demolished and they need to build brand new sky rises. But Naples hasn't wanted to do that. Here's another side of the coin, is that Naples hasn't wanted to do this. Okay? Naples hasn't wanted to allow this to become a Miami. But if you pay attention, this is a new construction here. Now, this is a house that's worth millions. The land is worth millions, so you understand, because the beach is the backyard. Dude, this house is intact. Look at it. Okay? So while these old raggedy buildings are falling to crap in their 40 years of age, look at this house. This house was literally in a storm surge, and as you can see, it is completely structurally sound. I want to compliment whoever built this house, whoever designed it, and the engineers that designed it, and not only that, but the people that built it. Now, there's going to be damages in here we can't see, obviously. I mean, they had water probably over our head, way over our heads for sure. But they have been preventing, like, there's a building, we're going to go all the way, we're going to walk this whole thing, and there's a building way at the end of this that I want to show you guys, and they fought so hard to prevent that building from going in. It's a new building, hasn't gone in yet, and they're fighting to keep this project from happening. They're really pushing. They were for a long time just fighting. The people of Naples did not want this building built. They fought back. But I guarantee you that building, when they finish it, when it goes through a storm surge of 10 feet of water or 12, whatever the crap happened here, it won't look like these old buildings because they're up to a new building code. So what's happened here in Naples is that through bureaucracy, they've prevented progress from happening in a lot of places. And all the while preventing progress, because progress for them is new buildings, new building codes, high-rise buildings, which don't suffer as much. They've been fighting against that here in Naples for a long time. They've been fighting high-rise buildings. Now, I can't get a real close-up, but there were some cars that floated away from here and landed on top of the boat docks over there. I'll see if I can get a photo of it if I can get close enough, but I don't want to trespass on the people's property. So Naples has building height regulations. They've been trying, every time they want to knock down these old piece of crap, raggedy buildings that look like they're duplexes and these are like highly duplex old buildings. They want to knock them down and put in nice new buildings like in Sarasota or Miami. These old farts fight back. And listen, if the shoe fits, wear it. If you're elderly, you don't need to get offended at the word old. Okay, you can identify as old if you want to, or you can identify as elderly. Because every time I say the word old, there's people that get mad. And they're like, hey, I'm not old. You're going to get old one day if you're lucky. Look, there's nothing wrong with the word old. Nothing wrong with the word old, okay? If the shoe fits, wear it. And if it doesn't, if I say old farts and you're not an old fart, if you're an old cool guy, then you're not an old fart. But if the shoe fits, wear it, man. All right, so if the shoe fits, go ahead and wear it. These old farts have been fighting back. And again, if you're elderly, you don't need to be offended at that. My dad's elderly. He's not an old fart. He's elderly. But these old farts have been fighting back from stuff like this happening. Okay, now this building's not even complete. And even though it's not complete, it's still structurally sound, while some of these older buildings are completely destroyed. You know why? Because these are up to the new building codes. But these old farts in Naples, in fact, right, like a week or two before the hurricane, I made a video, might have been a week before the hurricane, I actually made a video around here, talking about this same exact situation. It's almost like if I knew this was going to happen. Because I made a video how these old farts in Naples are fighting back on the new construction, but the new constructions make it past hurricanes. You understand? These new houses and these new buildings that are going in, they're hurricane ready. When the storm surge comes up, they don't suffer massive losses because they're built up to the new hurricane codes. Look, I'm going to show you guys how journalism is done. I'm going to give you guys a real deal raw, because I see, just in the time that I've been here, I've seen 4 or 5 cars pass with cameras recording. A lot of them are out-of-state YouTubers. They're going to come, they're going to make a video, and it's going to get 1 million views. But they don't know the area. They don't know the building codes. They don't know nothing about this area. So they're making a video, but it's a very uneducated video that shows you what the place looks like, but they don't have anything meaningful to contribute to the situation. So these people here in this city of Naples, they've been fighting back, okay? They have a height regulation on buildings. You can't put any more sky rises in Naples. And every time somebody tries to build a building below the building code that's a high rise, they fight back. We don't want to be Miami. We don't want to turn into Miami. Oh, you know, that's the first thing they say. We're not Miami. But what are you then? Because let's be honest, we're at the point now where we realize that a lot of these houses are old. And if you're going to build something along the coast, it might want to be a high-rise building, because these brand new high-rise buildings came out of this crap pretty well. It's the older buildings that the people that are living in are complaining about stuff. Que hola, mi hermano. Are probably what you want along the beach. Look, this house, you can tell this is brand new. It looks structurally sound. It's still there, you know? Tear out the drywall, ready to go, back to normal. Is it ironic that Comcast is here in this tangled mess, yet there's still no internet in Lehigh Acres? I just bought these shoes, they're brand new. I don't want to get too muddy. Man, it hurts to see the street like this. Because, again, I lived in this area and I made a lot of money. All the 20 years I lived in Naples, I made a lot of money in these neighborhoods. I know the people that live in these houses, and that just makes you feel a little bit different. But anyways, you do have to understand that the vast majority of these houses are second homes, and the fact that they're houses into the millions of dollars is just an indication that the people here can it may inconvenience them, but they can monetarily recover from it. So while it looks horrendous, and when you start putting up the numbers, we're talking millions of dollars. Some of these houses could have $400,000 or $500,000 in damages. But you have to understand that after those damages, the people that own these properties still have another $5 million in the bank. But the regular working class people that are living in regular conditions down here, that are homeless, I know people down here that work 60 hours a week. Now they're homeless because the water went in 4 feet in their house. And now they're homeless. They have nowhere to sleep tonight. They're in a tent in a parking lot. They're sleeping in their friend's couch. People that I know. So when you look at these properties, keep in mind that the owners, this is their second or third home. So it's a little bit different. And while it's impactful, it's a good thing that it's not the regular class people that live near the beach. It's people that have second homes. Now, as you look at all this destruction, you're probably wondering, how long will it take for these people to recover? I will say that this is an unprecedented catastrophe in Southwest Florida. So we'll see how long it actually takes. But again, I'm also trying to show you guys that not all of Naples looks like this. The part of Naples that looks like this is the part of Naples that's along the beach. Areas that even a piece of land like this is worth millions of dollars. That means two things. That one, that recovering isn't really going to be a problem. Really, recovery isn't really a problem for these people. It's just a matter of time and money. They have the money and they have the time. So recovery for much of Naples is nothing more than a mathematical equation. Now, we have poor communities in Southwest Florida where people lost everything and they're not going to be able to bounce back. When Hurricane Michael hit the Florida Panhandle, there's places like Panama City. Not Panama City Beach, the fancy place you go to on vacation. Which, by the way, if you've never gone there, I definitely recommend it. I'm talking Panama City, the actual Panama City where the people that clean those hotels live. When you go to those places and see those situations there, those people, to this day, 4 years later, haven't been able to recover. You know? Another thing you guys have been asking me about is the red tide. As you can see, there's paint right here. All these are paint buckets. That water, when it pulled back, it pulled chemicals, Roundup, paint, and all that is definitely going to contaminate the water that was put back into the Gulf of Mexico and the canals. You can probably expect red tide. I don't want to say, I'm not a scientist. I don't want to I can't make a prediction, but I would assume that if red tide starts back up, like after Hurricane Irma, we had red tide. Well, the difference between Hurricane Irma and this hurricane is that this hurricane is 800 times more contamination entering the environment than Hurricane Irma. You can see a toolbox. Yeah, a rich person toolbox. It's a jewelry box. It's a jewelry box, not a toolbox. It's a rich person toolbox right there. With Hurricane Michael, people there, 4 or 5 years later, you go back to Panama City and even some parts of Pensacola, all on the Florida Panhandle. I saw places that 4 years later still hadn't recovered. Even Mexico Beach, where you can get a piece of land in Mexico Beach for something like $500,000, $700,000, you can get a property, land or home along Mexico Beach in the Panhandle. I was there, and something like 4 years later, there was still visible signs of properties that were destroyed and not cleaned up. Now you can tell that already some of this stuff's been cleaned up because these are all piles of garbage here that have already been cleaned up. So the county has already came in with those big trucks that sped past me earlier and cleaned up a lot of the stuff. You can see here where there was debris and it was clawed off and taken away. So the city is already getting in here and starting to haul stuff away. But what they won't take is this stuff right here. See, this is chemicals, this is paint, and you can see that the buckets are already rusting. So this is all contamination, TVs and stuff like that. And this is contamination that will eventually end up in the canals. And if we get red tide like we did after Hurricane Irma, because like I said, after Hurricane Irma, we got the red tide. If we get red tide because of this situation, it will most likely be the most ecological disaster that we've seen in South Florida. And only time will tell. It's still a few months before we can get to know if that's going to happen. But if this leads to red tide, if this in any way leads to a red tide because of the situation, because of the contaminations that are going into the canal and the canals, and you can see just about every one of these houses has chemicals by volume. These are large houses. They're going to have Roundup, they're going to have paint, they're going to have extra buckets of paint, and every last one of these houses being flooded means, 10 gallons per every house entering the environment. The long-term effects of that ecological damage are, one, unprecedented, and two, unpredictable. You can see here a safe that was flooded out. They don't take safes for some reason. at the landfill. I don't know why, but they don't. I think because there's concrete inside of it or something. I don't know what the deal is, but the safe is still here. And who knows what was inside of the safe? I mean, it could have been anything, really. But again, you're talking about $1 million property, so people could have had $1 million in a safe, cash, easily. People could have had $3 million in jewelry. Hopefully it was insured. You can insure jewelry. If we were to have a red tide event, there's really no telling how much damage we would face from a red tide event as far as ecologically. And that's one reason why I kind of already headed to Sarasota and moved out of Southwest Florida, because the real damage isn't what happened here. It's what's going to proceed environmentally. It's what's going to happen when we get a red tide where every single house that was storm surge dropped 10 gallons of chemicals into the water. It would make sense that the fish couldn't survive. I mean, if you had an aquarium and your aquarium had, by percentage of water volume, this much chemical dumped into it, all your fish would die. So it only makes sense that all the fish would die here as well. So we don't really know what's going to happen ecologically, but we could assume that there's a catastrophe waiting ecologically here in Southwest Florida. Just a random jet ski there. An ecological disaster that could teach us a lot of lessons. Just like Hurricane Andrew taught us lessons, Hurricane Ian is going to teach us lessons as well. So that's something you got to keep in mind as well, is what lessons are we going to learn? Now, this is one of my favorite houses in Naples. I've actually done videos on this street before, maybe 2 or 3 years ago at least. No, three years ago at least. And what I love about this house, see there's a tarp on the front door, but when you drive through at night, you can see that there's ladders. And this house, the whole front of this house, when you drive through at night, you can see like everything inside the house. It's like transparent. And if you're driving by at night, you can see most of this house. So this is one of my favorite houses in Naples. I was really excited when they finished building this house. I saw this house being built from start to finish. But on positive notes, it looks like structurally, most of this is still here. You can see where the water line came to on this home, clearly inundating the interior of the property. The mockingbirds are still singing their beautiful song. And today is a Sunday. I picked a Sunday to come out here because it'd just be a quieter day to do this. But yeah, Southwest Florida will recover. There's no way. And what I've seen already happening on the real estate market, and again, massive amount of misinformation. I love to see YouTubers that don't even live here offer their opinions about what's going on here with their own 2 golf balls. People offering opinions that don't understand Florida. I know this area intimately, very intimate. And I had a junk removal service, which means I would go inside of people's houses and help them, usually when they were moving, when they were downsizing. So this is an area I know intimately well. I'm very familiar with this place. When I see these YouTubers say things like Southwest Florida real estate is going to drop 50%, I'm just like, why do these people make these statements when they don't even understand this place? I understand these people. I understand these people intimately. When they sell these houses or they move out of state and I gut out the house, I get to see, I'm a junk removal service. I get to see their checkbooks that they forgot behind. I get to see a lot about their personal lives. You know, I get to see everything about their lives. I get to see their notebooks that they throw out, the letters they wrote to their wives. I know these people intimately. I'll tell you guys what I used to do. Let's say I did a trash out for somebody and they had cleaned out a whole house, like all the stuff like we see here. I would take it to the landfill. But before I took it to the landfill, I would get paid so little that I had to make every extra dollar. So I would dig through the stuff. In front of the customers, I would just store everything in bags and I'd break stuff in front of customers to make them think, hey, there's no value in this stuff. Because if they think there's value in this stuff, they'll be like, oh, you know, that TV works. Can I get a $100 discount? So here you are in a $5 million house trying to get a $20 discount because the TV works from a guy that is working for $140 a day after the landfill fees. So I knew how I had to proceed in front of the customer. But when I got home, I would grab the stuff and dig through it. And I wasn't digging out of curiosity. I was digging to see if there's anything that I could salvage and resell, because I had to scrape every dollar. I mean, for a poor person like I was to live 20 years north of Naples, you have to become a masterful person to survive here, because this place is intended for the wealthy. The working class really struggles just to make ends meet living out here. So in the process of getting to know these people very well, because I worked for them over so many years, and had a junk removal service, which is a very personal thing, I also wanted to know how these people got rich. Now, at first, I was very shy, and I would be almost scared to ask these people how they made their money. But towards the end of me being in Naples, the last 2 years I lived in Naples, I started to ask people how they got rich. Again, for some reason, here's another safe. And I guess they had to bust into it to get whatever they had in, whatever was in it, right? Who knows what was in these safes? Millions of dollars, jewelry, anything. You're talking rich people safes, bro. So the last few years that I was in Naples, I got very inquisitive in asking my customers exactly how they made their money. And to my surprise, the vast majority of them actually told me how they made their money. You see the water line here on this brand new delivery of materials. That's ruined. That's ruined. Surprisingly, they may still be able to use that sand. So I get inquisitive and straight up asking people how they made their money, and they told me. And one of the most common things that I got, I actually duplicated it. And I did really well. I actually duplicated what these people told me in my life, and it worked really well. Now I'm a full-time YouTuber. I understood. But I was just shy, I was afraid to ask them. But basically, the most common answer that I got is that they would buy a property with the bank's money or their own, and they would live in it for 2 years. The property would appreciate $700,000. They would sell it and they would pocket that money. Now, with that money that they pocketed, that was now their profit. With that money, they would buy another house, and they would just keep doing that. And always going for appreciation. So if you study Naples, you'll see that this house here is brand new. But they'll buy a house for $5 million. 2 years later, it sells for $7 million. 2 years later, it sells for another $12 million. Then somebody buys it for $13 million. All those people made millions of dollars, not working at a drive-through, not working construction, but simply by living in a mansion. Can you imagine the notion of you becoming a millionaire, not by working with your hands, okay? I didn't meet too many people. When I started asking my customers how they got rich, I didn't meet too many of them that said, oh, I worked for Jordan's Voltage at $25 an hour, and one day I blah, blah, blah. No. Most of them, the vast majority of them, made it to real estate. So imagine this. While the vast majority of us poor people, with our hands, I did junk removal for many years. I did construction. I worked at restaurants. I was a dishwasher. And I got paid a miserable wage. You buy this house right now for $5 million. You live in it for 2 years, and then you sell it. You made $2 million to live in a mansion. So that's the difference between wealth and poverty. The person that owns these houses, they're getting paid to live in those houses. You can see the water line, beautiful pickup truck. Water line came right through there, probably floated and landed here in front of this beautiful house. Still blocking the road today. So imagine, while we work construction and demolition and get a Bentley. Oh, that's painful to watch, my man. When I see little rich white kids listen to rap music, it irritates the life out of me. Listening to gangster rap. You are a rich white suburban kid living along the beach. Why are you listening to that garbage? I'm from the hood. I'm the one that needs to be just playing, y'all. Okay, this is quite the find here. A blue Bentley. Now, Juicy J made a song. Was it Juicy J or Project Pat? One of the two made a song called Blue Bentley. I love Bentleys. I've always wanted to have one. Growing up in Naples, I've seen a lot of these things. And to see a Bentley in this condition absolutely breaks my heart. My heart goes out to you. This hurts to see because I'm a fan of these vehicles. And inevitably, I'm going to be inside one of these things soon. I can already afford to buy a Bentley, one that's not flooded. I can already afford it, but I haven't bought it because it's just not the right time. But if I wanted to, I could physically afford it. I just don't do it because we're not there yet. But one day, I'll have a Bentley, and hopefully it won't be flooded. So imagine, if you're washing dishes, how many years of washing dishes or doing construction work you would need to buy this baby right here? Quite a few. But, again, you can buy this mansion right here for $5 million, live in it for 2 years, sell it for $7 million, and then you can buy like 8 of these things. And that right there is the key on how money attracts money. I think it's Warren Buffett that has a quote. One of those rich old guys, might be Warren Buffett. One of those rich old guys has a quote that goes, if you have $100 to make 110 is difficult. If you have 100 million to make 110 million is inevitable. It means if you have 100 million, eventually you're going to have 110 million. But if you have $100, it's hard to make another 10. And that is the true aspect of money, is that money attracts money. So for us young people, it's not beneficial for me at my age to go buy that Bentley now. Could I buy it? I could buy it cash. But when I eventually buy a $5 million house and sell it for $7, I'll be able to buy me a couple of those little bunnies. And at that point, I didn't work for it, recording videos, walking through mud with my brand new shoes. You make it off, just off the profit, off the top. Passing the beautiful La Playa Resort. As you can see here in this garbage can, they've actually separated electronic waste because electronic waste is going to go somewhere else. See here they have kind of electronic waste. The sand is from the beach, so I don't know what they're going to do with this sand because it's probably contaminated. So this sand could probably be used at a landfill. I'm going to guess they're not going to grab this sand and put it back on the beach. That doesn't make sense to me. Most likely they're probably going to be able to repurpose this sand, most likely at a landfill or some other application of that sort, because this sand, as you can see, there's like, you know, whatever the crap that is. All right, guys, so I hope that you're seeing on this video the difference between this building might be condemned right here. It says no entry. I hope you can see in this video the difference between somebody who understands what they're talking about with Hurricane Ian and somebody who came from out of state and it's just doing it for the hype. I've been doing videos here in Naples, drive around videos of this area for a long time. Recently, one of my subscribers sent me a video of somebody who pretty much copied one of my recent video ideas. I'm not going to say which one it was, but clearly this YouTuber knocked off my video concept. Oh no! Oh no! Do we have a conflict of interest here? This type of contamination right here, this is the type of, this is what causes red tide right here. If you wondered what the red tide comes from, this right here is the problem. Shout outs to my Ohio people, man. Just messing with you. Hey, I don't really like Michigan. My wife just makes me wear this shirt when I get in trouble. Yeah, I know what's good. But man, it's just wild to see this stuff, man. But that's storm surge. It's a very destructive force, undoubtedly. So what will happen to the sand here? I'm gonna guess they can't put it back on the beach. Maybe they could strain it. I mean, it's possible. I'm gonna assume that they could test it to see what type of contamination level it has. Probably be through the roof. But if they don't test it, I'm sure they could bring like some big sand shifter and shuffle it. Kind of like what they have at the scrapyard where it just shifts out the sand. And they could recycle it. But it seems like the process to recycle the sand would be so much that it wouldn't really monetarily make any sense. It would just make more sense to haul it off to a landfill and use it as fill. Yeah. So we continue our tour along what is undoubtedly, there's just a random jet ski right there. Undoubtedly what is one of the most crazy sites of destruction I've ever seen in my whole life. This is just wild, man. The Subaru from New York. It's got Florida tags, but I know it's from New York. Don't ask me why, I just know these things. Obviously, vehicles like this are going to be probably just used for scrap metal. And then that metal could probably be put into new vehicles that are going to rot away in like a year. Like, you guys remember a while back, I think GM and Ford have both had this problem where they get scrap metal that's recycled and the cars like are brand new or rotting away. I think that's why Ford switched over to the aluminum. Trucks, because their metal ones were rusting away. It's because they just buy scrap metal like that. And I kid you not, despite the scenario unfolding here right now, the beach looks amazing. Amazing enough to say that children we shall rebuild. Perhaps this building is being inspected for structural damage in the case of, you know, if the building shifted or if now it's not level anymore, then you could assume that at some point in the future, some of these large high-rises could actually be wiped away. They could be ordered to be demolished. And which, to be honest, yeah, demolish them. People of Naples, listen to me. Listen to me. These buildings are old as crap. We need some New York City, some Miami type buildings, big buildings. Big buildings. We need these new buildings. We need this. Let me show you something about structural integrity. That right there is called a hydrostatic flood vent. Because you guys think I'm an idiot. I'm a high school dropout. And a lot of people think because I'm a high school dropout that I'm a complete moron or an idiot. If I was a complete moron or idiot, I'd be picking up this garbage like I used to, not on YouTube. But at the end of the day, this is called a hydrostatic flood vent. And this, in this county, if you're building a house within a flood zone, so this area here will be a flood zone, your garage has to have, for every square foot, 1 square inch of hydrostatic flood vent. So let's say your garage is 400 square feet. If your garage is 400 square feet, your garage will need to have 4 hydrostatic flood vents. Hydro means water and static means some other crap. But basically what it means is that these things go on the side of the garage. So that's the garage door that got swept away. But these hydrostatic flood vents go on the side. And what they do is in case of a storm surge, in the case of a storm surge, you heard me, Woden? In this case of a storm surge, which we had here, these little plastic vents allow the water to flow through the building and not let the building collapse. So if you've ever wondered why a house in Naples costs $800,000, the same house will cost you $300,000 somewhere else, it's because here when you build stuff, you got to put extra stuff so that when this happens, the structures are not, the integrity of the structure is not compromised. And that right there is a hydrostatic flood vent. And this right here, this hydrostatic flood vent that you're looking on the side of the road, this prevented a building from collapsing. You understand? That is a hydrostatic flood vent. And these right here are a pair of Jordans. If you live in the hood and you ain't got a pair of Jordans, you ain't nobody. But all those YouTubers son una pila como basura, and they don't know what the crap a hydrostatic flood vent is because they've never pulled a permit in Collier County. and know what the crap a hydrostatic, hey Jose, what's a hydrostatic flood vent? I don't know what the crap it is. Do you put it on your wheels to make them spin more or something? I don't know, because I don't know. Well, there you go, YouTuber who just moved here from New York 2 years ago and is making videos about Southwest Florida hurricanes. That right there is why these structures didn't just get washed the crap out when the storm surge flooded, because they had hydrostatic flood vents. You ever go to build something in Florida and wonder why they got all these rules and regulations, man? When I lived in Minnesota, I built a cabin out of OSB plywood. Why does it have to be pressure treated? Why? Oh, this guy's in a rush. I'm gonna get the crap. This guy. Oh, run! Get the crap out of this guy's way, man. So they get paid by the yard. They don't care. They want to get paid. He might get paid $400 a trip. So, yeah, get the crap. All right, guys. So this beautiful Lexus has seen better days. It was swept away onto the road, and it's still here alongside the road. The hurricane don't care what color your Lexus is. It's going to float away. It smells like crap. It's hot. It's muggy. And it's dusty. And the Ritz-Carlton is right ahead. Yes. Again, more chemicals and more paint. And very fancy pottery. Very fancy pottery. Guys, this is undoubtedly one of the craziest sights I've ever seen. But the amount of debris that's here is kind of overwhelming. This is quite the catch of destruction. And keep in mind, I sent Katie out today to do her own videos. So let me call her and see how she's doing. All right, guys, I'm thoroughly disappointed in Katie. I call her. I'm like, Katie, so you're making videos? She's like, oh, I'm making a video about McDonald's, a Happy Meal for adults. I'm like, no. You're supposed to be making videos about the destruction, and she's over there making Happy Meal videos. Oh, bless her heart. She went to McDonald's to make a video about a Happy Meal for adults. I'm like, Katie, no, this is not the type of news reporting we're making. Like, Katie, if you keep news reporting like that, I'm going to have to send you over to the or one of the other YouTubers. I don't know their names. This is the Bareface blogger that ripped off one of my video ideas. Dude, I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. This dude actually, I did a video. And if my video had been a huge success and he ripped off my idea, I did like a half screen, like this side of the screen. Like, let's say I drove by this street like before the hurricane. So I'll do like this side of the screen before and after, right? If the video had gotten 100,000 views or 1 million views and he ripped me off, I would understand it. The video didn't even get 3,000 views. But even though the video didn't even get 3,000 views, this guy actually ripped off my idea. Dude, be yourself. Don't copy other YouTubers. Just like, if you're the Bareface blogger, be the Bareface blogger, bro. Like, don't try to be Southern Life. Because Southern Life ain't trying to be nobody else. Be who you are if you want to be successful. Why would you rip off a video idea that wasn't even, like the video didn't even get 3,000 views, bro? Why would you do that? If you're going to rip off a video idea, like rip off a video idea that was successful. Guys, we're looking at concrete block structures here. This is just insane to look at here. Concrete block structures. Gone. Destroyed. CBS. Not CBD. That's a we're not talking about CBD. We're talking about CBS. Not CVS, CBS. CBS means concrete block structure. And back to the people like in other places, when they like move from Minnesota or some other state or Wisconsin, they're like, oh, back in Wisconsin, I built my own house out of OSB. OSB is plywood that is not pressure treated. When you build houses down here, there's building codes. There's some pieces of wood have to be pressure treated. You got to have hydrostatic. That's worth a lot of money. Somebody's going to steal that, right? You see that right there? Somebody's going to go to jail over that. This is worth about $200 or $300. That piece right there. Somebody, a scrap metal picker, somebody. I wouldn't even doubt I mean, you're allowed to pick through this stuff, I would suppose. But that right there is worth a pretty penny. If you've ever sold scrap metal, you know what I'm talking about. That could be worth $80 to $300, depending on how much copper it's got inside of it. And what that is that's a pool heater. That's the inside part of a pool heater. You can see the condenser there and the coils there. So that's all copper coils inside of it. Come on, bro. Tell me that's not hilarious. This building is called a Watermark. Come on. Laugh with me, people. You don't think this is funny? Oh, it's not funny? Oh, okay. Well, go hit me up in the comment section. Say I'm an evil person. Here's the other one. You're profiting from the destruction. Yeah, everybody's profiting. The guy that's driving the big truck's profiting. Let's see here. The person that gets a check for their insurance company's profiting. The junkyards are profiting. The tow trucks are profiting. As a matter of fact, in the past, when I had a junk removal business, oh man, if it wasn't for Hurricane Irma, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Hurricane Irma. Because during Hurricane Irma, not only did I not suffer any destruction, but I was making like $2,000 a day, baby, after Hurricane Irma. So hey, I ain't complaining. Hurricanes will shift things around. And one of the things that they're going to shift around, undoubtedly, this is the biggest pile of scrap metal I've ever seen in a residential area. One of the biggest things they switch around is people's economy. Like I said, some people were stable, and now they're going to be homeless. Some people were millionaires, and they didn't insure what they had, and they got washed away, and now they lost it all. Other people are going to make huge profits. Other people are going to have a house that they bought for $1 million, never sold it. Now the land's worth $7 million. They're saying, you know what? The house is gone. I'm going to put up the land for sale. Two people are going to fight for land. They thought they were going to get $3 million. They ended up getting $7 million, and now they got $3 million more than they thought they were going to get. And that's the truth, the pure truth about hurricanes, is that for some people it will be an absolute catastrophe and loss, and for other people, there's profits to be made from the destruction. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I just get upset when I see people say stuff like, oh, you're profiting from the hurricane. Because yeah, of course I am. This little Toyota's just landed there. Tow truck drivers are making a killing. You know, like auto parts people are making a killing. It's absolutely okay. Psychiatrists are going to make a killing after this one too. Divorce lawyers. You know who's going to make money off of this, believe it or not? Divorce lawyers. You know why? Because some people, the hurricane, their life was already chaotic. But being stuck with Sandy or Karen or Alicia or whatever the crap her name is, being stuck with Katie or Maria or whatever the crap her wife's name is, with no power, no light, that was the breaking point. Maria was like, you know what? My high school boyfriend has power back on and you don't, Larry. And believe it or not, divorce lawyers are going to make a killing off of this hurricane, because people's marriages were already volatile, and the hurricane was just that little push their family needed to go to crap. I mean, it had already gone to crap. It just hadn't been pushed into the toilet yet. You understand? It was like somebody with diarrhea running to a toilet and they finally found one, and that toilet was Hurricane Ian for a lot of people. Now, we made a video here not too long ago showing you guys this area. It's nothing wrong with making money off this destruction. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose everything, but there's going to be a lot of people that they're going to make $100,000. They're going to make $200,000. Somebody's going to make $3 million off this hurricane. You know what? It's going to change their life. The casualty of one is the profit of another. And that is the rule of life, people. Now, if the rule of life means that it's your time to be on the come up, don't let somebody who's not on the come up tell you you can't be on the come up. Like, if there's a lot of people here, you're allowed to pick up this stuff apparently, because the cops are there and they're not stopping those people. Once it's by the curb, it's garbage, you can pick it up. A lot of people here in Naples right now are working in a restaurant for $9 or $10 an hour, whatever the crap minimum wage is right now. they could get a pickup truck and they can make $3,000 a day picking up aluminum. You know why they don't do it? Because it's gonna look bad. Oh, I'm gonna look like a bad person doing it. Hey, bro, you know how you look like a bad person when you get home tired at 9 o'clock at night and slap your wife across the head with the remote control because your life is miserable. But the dude that didn't have a problem coming out here making these $3,000 a day, he's gonna be in a resort in Hawaii with his wife. And that's the thing about caring about what other people think. There's a lot of opportunity. If you live in Southwest Florida right now and you're homeless and all you got is a truck, put a trailer behind that truck, start picking up some aluminum and some copper coils that are by the side of the road, start charging people for junk removal. It's time to make some money. Get to the green, baby. Benjamin Franklin has been waiting for you. Benjamin. All right, what the crap are you got going on? You just got carjacked. Let's go. You got tow trucks behind you.
Yeah. I did it straightforward before, and now it's a little bit side, so you can see
Want to do the finger streets in Naples Park?
I did the figure streets.
Cool. How bad were they?
The ones that I could get into, they've mostly cleaned it up. 60 FPS.
Cool.
Everything.
Frames per second.
Yeah.
FPS.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but yeah.
Frames per second. That's how many frames there are per every second.
Okay.
That's the
So every second they take a clip.
Takes 60 clips per second and puts them into one.
Okay.
So when you look at a 1 second clip, you're looking at 60 seconds of
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. It's wild, man. I think we're gonna have to replace my phone. It's been acting really crappy lately.
Yeah.
And the limestone on this little house actually came from the canal right behind it. It was built before the building code, and back then when they built houses in this area, that being one of the older ones in this neighborhood, they're actually built with the rocks from the canal. So when they dug out the canals, there was rocks, and they used those rocks to build that little house. So that's one of the oldest houses in North Naples, built out of the rocks from the canal.